Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, here's another forbidden music track. And in this case, we're going back to the well of your classic ultimate, well, that's not true. Classic ultimate forbidden music is probably the Eagles, but the Beatles certainly get a look in there. And here is the Beatles with one of the noisiest tracks off of the White Album. Now, I mentioned I was using White Album because I just turned 58, and the day that I was born, they were recording the White Album. Sadly, they were recording Don't Pass Me By. It's fine, but I mean, not the coolest track on the White Album to have been born during. But I do get to show this one because I had captured it. I didn't actually capture it, Don't Pass Me By. If I had, maybe I would be showing it to you. But this is one of the ones where it's extremely rowdy. It's extremely loud. And you get to see what that looks like back in the day on the classic EMI Red console, the last album that it was that used that before they moved to Abbey Road. And it's really interesting how saturated that stuff gets in that nice tube console-y way where they could drive it a little bit. Stuff gets a little bit up front. Clean and well-behaved saturation is part of that sound, and that's how their louder noises come forward a little bit to where they're upfront sounding, where they're direct sounding. That is a process of very gentle saturation. And the rest of the equation is not pushing it too far. One of the key elements of this one, besides just the Beatles playing as loud as they could, and they really play real hard, it's got a good kick drum sound, this track, but there's also a fireman bell. It's going dang 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 dang. It's like being played like a tambourine might. It's keeping up a really rapid beat, but it's doing a darn good job, honestly. Whoever was playing it did a great job at it. But it's almost the same energy as Helter Skelter on that one. So as this track is going, you've got this clanging bell constantly blaring in the background as a sustained noise. And it gives you this sort of density and raucous edge of like later metal tracks just about. The amount of high frequency is extraordinary. And it's one of the breakthroughs of the White Album is getting that down on tape, getting that down to the record. So this recording of the bell is not especially distorted. It's not utterly precisely clean. It's not like what you'd get if you recorded it to a DAW, where you'd have probably a low frequency spike built into it, and it would just produce a lot of weird overtones everywhere. It's not so, it's recorded quietly enough that the impacts still come through. But then this sound with a certain amount of peak energy and resonance, it's not just going to be distorted and splat, is filling in all the background of this track as everything is roaring along. I'm sad that I can't play the actual track. It's a forbidden track, so I get to put it on the main channel, but I don't get to actually play it. But it's neat the way that they do that textural thing towards the end, where they've got that clanging bell pretty much all the time, and then they cut to a bridge where they go boom, and it comes across really well. But one of the reasons it comes across so well is the way they generated that sound. The part, the bridge part, that's like, I can't remember whether there's drums in there, If there are, it's not that intense, but it's mostly guitars and bass hammering at that bridge riff. And then as it bashes through, that bell comes back. So the wall of sound that is the riff breaking back into the main part, and the Beatles are going, come on, come on, come on, come on, as part of the main part, but they're done with the verses, and so it's basically just sort of chorusy style. It comes back in with the attack of that bell hitting again and continuing. So the attack edge of the sound as it comes back in is super hard and aggressive because it's a metal bell being hit with the metal clapper, returning to that sustaining thing. But since it had laid out, and I'm not quite sure what they did to make it cut off that quickly. I suppose you could simply grab it and damp it that way. But that bridge is something special as far as arrangement texture is concerned, because the way that works, yeah, you can have the arrangement texture, yeah, you can have that element cut out and then come back in. But since you're doing like a wall of sound from what is already a wall of sound, like the riff that they're doing is already a wall of sound, so they have to jump it up several notches for bursting back into the song. And the choice of having a clanging bell as a continuing part of the rest of the track, and then muting it for that bit, and then as they come back in, clang is the initial impact of that bell on the front edge of the transient of the rest of the band bursting back into the chorus. It's just neat. I'm not sure how well I captured that moment. I think that ContentID did not get that exact moment, but it got little snippets of both the bridge and the chorus at the very end. So that'll have to do. And yeah, that's a big high frequency spike that will show up on the slew area of meter. And it's meant to. Moments like that, yeah, you want the biggest spike, the biggest high frequency spike that you could possibly ask for. Without any further ado, here is, and you can see it and you don't get to hear most of it, the Beatles, Everybody's Got Something to Hide But Me and My Monkey.
My monkey. Hey!